I've read 25 books this year. Let's review them. Hello everybody, Emergency Rations here, and this is my half-year book review. Last year I began doing a monthly book review, but I wasn't able to do that this year because of technical difficulties and just being plain busy. So instead, I thought I'd do this. Now, I'm going to organize this by star rankings, least to greatest, but I have several series with mixed ratings, so I'm going to combine those together when I talk about them, but I'll still tell you what the individual ratings are. Let's start with books that I DNF'd. The first is Symptoms of Being Human by Jeff Garvin. This is a story of a gender-fluid teenager in a new high school who is being blackmailed over their identity. I was a little wary of this book, so I checked the reviews before getting too far into the book, and I decided to stop reading. It seems that this is a good example of why queer stories should be written by queer authors. One major issue is that Jeff made the decision to never reveal Riley's biological sex because he didn't want the readers to place Riley in a box. This is a good idea in concept, but not in execution. By not giving Riley a perceived gender, we don't fully get to understand their body dysmorphia or what social challenges they face from being perceived as a boy or as a girl. It also leads to some awkward prose. There's also a sexual assault near the end, and seriously, people need to stop writing about trans characters getting assaulted as a way to challenge their identity. It's weird and lazy. This Is Where It Ends by Mariette Nijkamp. This is another book I bought a while ago and ended up putting down. This is a book about a school shooting, which is obviously a very serious topic. Because of this, I decided to read some reviews, and the most common complaint was that the characters were shallow. In a book with a serious topic like this, you need to have complex and three-dimensional characters. Didn't seem worth my time, so I DNF'd. Destination Unknown by Bill Koenigsberg. This is about a closeted gay teen exploring his identity during the AIDS crisis. I was excited for this book because I wanted to expand my collection of queer literature, but I didn't make it very far. I think I just have a disdain for YA fiction. They're all written very similarly, and so many references and slang are used as some desperate attempt to show teen readers that you were also a teen once. Also, the characters were incredibly pretentious and unlikable. In the first chapter, the love interest slaps the main character for not knowing a band. Now, the lowest tier, 2.5 stars. Fortunately, I only have one book in this tier, and I'll talk about it with another book because they are part of the same series. I started the Ugly series in 2024, and I read Pretty's late 2025. I wanted to get the series finished, so I read specials and extras earlier this year. It was painful. The problem with the Ugly series is that it recycles the same plot over and over with each book. Tally is ugly. She wants to be pretty. She gets into shenanigans regarding the smoke. Tally is pretty. She wants to be smart. She gets into shenanigans regarding the smoke. Tally is special. She wants to... Are you seeing the pattern? Not to mention the poor depictions of SH. Didn't care for that whatsoever. I believe I gave Ugly's 4 stars, Pretty's got 3.5, Specials gets 3, and Extras, oh boy, that was a 2.5. Extras is kind of a part of the series and kind of a spin-off. Tally is a part of it, but the protagonist is a young Japanese girl named Aya. I could not stand anyone in this book. Also, when Tally was introduced, her character was vastly different. It's like Westerfeld forgot all the development she made in the previous books. It took several weeks to read this because I disliked it so much. You should have stopped at Specials, man. And on to 3 stars. Free Lunch by Rex Ogle. This is a memoir about, well, Rex Ogle, who grew up in poverty. It was definitely sad at points, but enjoyable. Here's my problem with it. Ogle blames most of his problems on money, which is fair. A lot of problems in life are caused by money. Abuse is not one of those. Ogle lived with abusive, awful parents, and no amount of money can change the ugliness in people's hearts. I felt like this was overlooked and unacknowledged, which was pretty frustrating. The book also has an uplifting ending that I didn't care for, because if you read more about the author's life, the abuse didn't end when his mother got a better job. When I read his biography, I learned that he got disowned at like 18 for being gay. Again, not a monetary issue there. Your life doesn't suck just because you're poor, Rex. It also sucks because your parents didn't deserve to have kids. Having said that, as someone who hasn't ever struggled with financial insecurity, I feel that this was an important book that helped me better understand what children in lower classes are going through. Next is The Bluest Eye. I wanted to enjoy this book because Toni Morrison is an incredible writer, and I know it was supposed to be disturbing, but incestuous child rape is a little too far for me. Sorry. I thought the prose was pretty and it was well written, it just wasn't my cup of tea. I had a teacher tell me that she often started but couldn't finish Toni Morrison books because of the depictions of body horror. She told me that it helps to view The Bluest Eye as a Southern Gothic. This lens did help me appreciate it more, and I think I just originally misunderstood what genre this book was. It would have been pretty horrifying to read a Stephen King book without knowing that he writes horror. Words on Bathroom Walls by Julia Walton. This is a YA book about a teen with schizophrenia who is at a new school and likes a girl but is afraid to tell her about his disorder. This was a 3-star book. It was okay. I enjoyed parts of it and even got emotional near the ending when they really talked about mental health, but other bits really took me out. It was fine, but not good enough to keep. My shelf space is precious. Also, I don't know anyone with schizophrenia, so I cannot confirm whether or not this was a proper representation. I didn't see any complaints in the reviews about it, so it might be a good representation. I have no idea. Psychology in Bite-Sized Chunks by Joel Levy. This is exactly what the title suggests. It is filled with short chapters that discuss different concepts in psychology. I thought this was fitting to read because I just started a psychology class. My only complaints would be that I feel as though some of the things in here are outdated, like there are some newer psychology concepts that I think are more relevant now than some of the ones he explained. Also, I learned way too many things about Freud's theories revolving around male anatomy. I wish I could unread that. 3 stars because it was an average book. Next up are my 3.5-star ratings. In January, I read a pair of graphic novels, Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 by Art Spiegelman, I believe. There's not much to say about these. I wasn't crazy about the art, but the story itself was good, and if you like graphic novels and reading about Holocaust survivors, I recommend these. To keep up with the theme of World War II, I also read Atomic Women by Roseanne Montijo. If you liked Radium Girls, you might like this because I found the styles very similar. There are a lot of names to remember, but I liked it overall. It made me a bit upset with the Oppenheimer movie because I feel like it really overshadowed all the work women scientists did during the Manhattan Project. Next up, we have The Remnant Chronicles or The Kiss of Deception trilogy by Mary E. Pearson. This was okay. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I wasn't crazy about Kiss of Deception. It was pretty cliche and I didn't find myself connecting to any of the main characters. However, there was a twist that exceeded my expectations, so I gave it an extra half star. I thought The Heart of Betrayal was much better. I enjoyed the world building and found the plot more enjoyable. It was a good improvement. This was ruined by Beauty of Darkness. It wasn't a bad book, I don't think this is a bad series. But I was pretty disappointed by the lackluster ending. I feel like I was supposed to keep switching between liking and disliking certain characters, which was really frustrating. I do like that the protagonist had a female best friend, which a lot of fantasy books lack, but I actually didn't like Pauline that much. She never had her priorities straight. I think especially with the final book, the plot was pretty predictable and I knew how it would end. Which is fine, the writing was consistent and I prefer an expectable plot to a crazy plot twist that brings you out of the story. But it also means that it lacked excitement and I didn't feel like I had to root for the characters or anything. I am, however, looking forward to reading the related Dance of Thieves duology, which I already have on my shelf. I hear really great things about it, and I feel like it's a Shadow and Bone Six of Crows situation. Now, I like the Shadow and Bone trilogy more than this one, but still not my favorite. The related duology, Six of Crows, is my favorite pair of books. Seriously, I love Six of Crows. I think that it just shows that your debut in writing won't always be perfect, but it can still lead to great things. Also, it's hard to compete with the last fantasy series I read, Red Queen. Sorry, there's no topping that. It's a hard act to follow. 3.5, 4, and 3 stars. I had a pleasant amount of 4-star books this year. The first was Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. This is a sequel to This Savage Song. In this world, committing crimes manifests monsters. A city is split in half between 2 governments, and the children of the enemy leaders get together to try to prevent an all-out war. I'm a big fan of Victoria Schwab. She's one of my favorite Victoria authors, and I really enjoyed This Savage Song. Reading Our Dark Duet was a little difficult because it had been over a year since I read the last one, but I still enjoyed it despite some sad parts. Next is The Gifts That Bind Us and Every Gift a Curse by Caroline O'Donoghue. These are the last two books in the trilogy, starting with All Our Hidden Gifts. All Our Hidden Gifts is about a girl who discovers a talent for tarot and uses these abilities with her new friend group after her ex-best friend vanishes. Again, it has been a bit since I read the first book, so I didn't fully remember what all was going on. These two were a little difficult for me because they discuss some prejudice and mental health, but I enjoyed them. This is a depressing one. The Rape of Nanjing by Iris Chang. This is a historical nonfiction about the war atrocity that Japan committed against the people of Nanjing, China, and World War II. I won't go into details because I doubt YouTube would like that. I wouldn't necessarily say this is an enjoyable book because it's disturbing and horrific, but it's important to be educated on even the dark side of history. I think what happened in Nanjing has been forgotten about by many people when being taught about World War II. This book also does a good job of including statistics and also zooming in to make things personal. With her work, Iris Chang brought light to the travesty that occurred. May she rest in peace. For a total 180, a book I found really intriguing was Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. This is a book about a man named Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat ending up in a dungeon survival video game-like game show hosted by aliens. This book is exciting, strange, funny, and certainly unique in its concept. I have already gotten the second, and it's waiting on my shelf. My only complaint is that the humor is very much written for a male audience. There were a lot of feet jokes, but I am excited to see where the rest of the series goes. I read Hamnet right after Dungeon Crawler Carl, which was a major whiplash. Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell tells the story of William Shakespeare's family, especially focusing on his wife, Agnes, and his son, Hamnet. The writing itself is very pretty, and it's definitely a tearjerker. I also think the movie did a good job of adapting it. I'm putting these two here because they average out at a 4.5, which is the next section. I read the latest two books in the Sworn Soldier series, What Feasts at Night and What Stalks the Deep. T. Kingfisher is an incredible writer and storyteller, and I love Alex Easton and their adventures. This is a gothic series about a soldier and the supernatural shenanigans that seem to follow them everywhere they go. The first book, What Moves the Dead, is still my favorite, but I enjoyed the other books. My only critique is that the monsters Alex faces are a little inconsistent in whether they are scientific or supernatural. What Feasts at Night is a 5-star book, and What Stalks the Deep is a 4. I have one 4.5-star book, Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I really enjoyed this book, and you might like it too if you read Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I actually read most of this book in one day because I was having trouble sleeping and couldn't put it down. It's creepy, there are stressful moments, and the plot and characters are enjoyable. I actually like that none of the characters are described as conventionally attractive. It's refreshing to have a normal-looking protagonist and male lead. And I'm not judging books by their cover, but if I did, this one would be at the top. I took away half a star, and that's for 2 reasons. I felt like there was more room to be scarier. I've really gotten into Gothic literature this past year, and while I liked Starling House, it wasn't nearly as disturbing as some of the other Gothic novels I've read. I feel like this could have been expanded on. Also, there's romance. That's not part of the main plot, and I love a good romance subplot, so that isn't my complaint. It's more that I would have liked it to be slowed down a bit. Now, my views on slow burns are a bit skewed. My favorite example of a slow burn is the Six of Crows duology, where it took around 1,000 pages for the characters to actually hold hands. Briefly. So I don't think this is a critique on the book, and more of an observation on how slowly I like my romances to go. Anyway, this was a solid book. The first 5-star book I read this year was Broken Throne by Victoria Aveyard. This is a collection of novellas taking place in the world of the Red Queen series. Some are prequels, some take place after, and some are little world-building side stories. I loved the Red Queen series, and I was excited to get a little bit more of it, and I especially love getting updates on the characters and backstories for others. There were also 2 parts that I cried at. I'll warn you, the first novella in this book is hard to get through. This isn't a spoiler because it isn't a secret in the series, but one of the main character's mothers is insinuated to have died by suicide. The first novella in the book tells her story. It was distressing, disturbing, and just plain sad. It's one of those examples of a story that you know the characters are going to die, but it breaks your heart anyway. I actually had to take a little break when reading this for my own mental well-being. Coriain, let it be known that although you are fictional, you are loved. Aside from the moment of darkness, I really enjoyed the rest of the book. Also, Maven made me cry. I have very complex, sensitive feelings regarding Maven. Fear not, there are also happy moments in this book. Although it was hard to let go of the series I've been reading for the past year, I was offered closure and I'm happy to see the characters' happy endings. Well, some of them were happy, at least. My favorite book this year so far has been The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This is a YA supernatural urban fantasy. I loved this book. It's a series of 4 and I've read the first 3. Blue Sargent is a teenager in a family of psychics, but she's completely mundane. Despite this, one night she sees the ghost of a boy who will die within the year. She meets this boy and his friends who are all students at the local private school of rich, arrogant Raven Boys, and joins them on their mission to find a missing Welsh king from the Middle Ages. The biggest thing I love is the characters. I'm incredibly attached to them and they really stress me out. They're so complex in their ambitions, fears, and dynamics that they feel lifelike. I just want them to be happy, but Maggie doesn't. Maggie wants these characters to be sad and heartbroken. I can't put the books down. The writing itself is incredibly well done, and I really feel as if I'm in Virginia when I'm reading them. It actually took me longer to read these 3 than it did to read some of my physically larger books, but that's because the writing is so in-depth that I am really absorbed and had to pay close attention to the detailed plotline. This isn't a complaint, I really enjoyed being immersed in this series. All 3 books that I have read are 5 stars and I'm excited to see where the final book takes the story. Now, that's my review of all 25 books I've read this year, and hopefully at the end of the year I'll have another 25 to review. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.